Mission accomplished for Aryna Sabalenka. She's the champion once again in Brisbane. A scintillating performance all week from her. And Marta Kostyuk just couldn't find a way to get past the world number one. She wouldn't allow it. And it's the perfect start to the season for this supremely talented player.
Yeah, another incredibly impressive week from Aryna Sabalenka. Really, from start to finish, hasn't dropped a set. And that final performance there, again, she just showed why she's the world number one, didn't she? She just had a little bit too much firepower for Marta Kostyuk. But lots of positives to take for the Ukrainian. Had a fantastic week. Really.
Aryna Sabalenka just locked in her second straight Brisbane International title. And listen, she did it in straight-up dominant fashion. Marta Kostyuk went down 6-4, 6-3 in a match that wrapped in just 77 minutes. Then came the trophy ceremony, and hold up, Kostyuk once again refused to shake Sabalenka's hand, marking the second time this has happened in their careers. The crowd sat in awkward silence as the long-standing tension played out right in front of them. At that moment, this stopped being just about a tennis match. So the real question is this: is Kostyuk justified in continuing this protest, or is she crossing the line by dragging politics into every single meeting with Sabalenka? Aryna Sabalenka captured the Brisbane International title for the second year in a row. She defeated Marta Kostyuk 6-4, 6-3 in a match that barely lasted over an hour at 77 minutes. The contest itself was completely one-sided. From the opening games, Sabalenka's power was simply too much for Kostyuk to handle. Her serve was on point and fully in control. Her ground strokes were punishing, and her movement looked sharp for someone playing her first tournament of the season. This was the world number one, reminding everyone exactly why she sits at the top of the rankings.
Lord Mayor. Now, unfortunately, in a final, there can only be one winner. So please put your hands together for our finalists today. Marta Kostyuk, well done, Marta, on making it through to the final.
Then came the trophy ceremony, and just like that, the tennis stopped mattering. Kostyuk stepped up to the microphone and, listen to this, delivered a speech focused entirely on Ukraine. She spoke about people surviving without electricity or warm water in -20-degree conditions. She thanked Ukrainian supporters for standing by her and for waving their flags in the crowd. She closed it out with Slava Ukraini, a powerful Ukrainian rallying cry. What she did not do, hold up, was acknowledge Sabalenka at all. No congratulations, no mention of her opponent's name, nothing whatsoever.
I want to say a few words about Ukraine. I play every day with a pain in my heart, and there is thousands of people who are without light and warm water right now. It's -20 degrees outside, so it's very, very painful to live this reality every day. And you know, it's very hot here in Brisbane, so it's difficult to imagine this, you know, but my sister is sleeping under 3 blankets because of how cold it is at home, so I was incredibly moved and happy to see so many Ukrainian fans and flags this week too.
The crowd applauded Kostyuk's speech because, let's be real, nobody wants to be the person sitting on their hands while a country facing war and a humanitarian crisis is being supported. But listen, the omission was impossible to miss. Sabalenka stood there holding the trophy while her opponent used that moment to make a political statement that very intentionally left her out. The tension in that arena was so heavy you could feel it in the air. And let's be clear, this wasn't the first time these two have had handshake drama. Kostyuk refused to shake Sabalenka's hand after their French Open match back in 2023. That moment set the tone for everything we're seeing now. Since then, every matchup between them comes with this added layer of political and personal tension that has nothing to do with who actually plays better tennis.
It's their position. What can I do? And I don't mind that. I don't care about that. And when I go into the match, it's all about tennis and sport. And when I go out there, I think about my tennis and things that I have to do to get the win. It doesn't matter if it's Marta Kostyuk or Jessica Pegula there. I still go out there and I still try my best and I'll fight for the trophy. I have nothing to prove, and I go there and I just compete as an athlete.
Sabalenka's response after the Brisbane final was calm, measured, and very diplomatic. She said she doesn't care about the handshake refusal at all. According to her, when she steps on the court, it's strictly about tennis and competition. Her focus stays on her own game and doing whatever it takes to win. She made it clear it doesn't matter whether it's Kostyuk or Jessica Pegula on the other side of the net. She sees herself as an athlete first, competing with nothing to prove. At least that's the public-facing statement she's putting out there.
It was an interesting celebration from Sabalenka. She kissed her biceps while looking at her team, and I thought for sure that was a reference to Marta Kostyuk's comments when she blamed her winless streak against Aryna and Iga on them potentially having more testosterone. Aryna was asked about this in her post-match press conference, and she denied it being sort of a dig at her opponent.
The celebration at the end, can you just tell me, the kissing of the biceps, was there anything in particular behind that, or?
No, I think because during the game I made a lot of aggressive, heavy winners. I want to see the speed, so I was just making fun with my team.
So nothing in response to any discussions of... No.
You just made that up!
But hold up, there was a moment during the post-match celebration that hinted Sabalenka might not be as unbothered as she says. After the win, she kissed her biceps, and that didn't feel random at all. It came off like a clear callback to past comments Kostyuk made about Sabalenka's physicality. Now, Kostyuk has said those remarks were taken out of context. Still, that bicep kiss felt very intentional, almost like a message being sent. So maybe, just maybe, Sabalenka cares a little more than she's letting on.
It's tennis, it's sport, and that's why it's so beautiful, because you cannot predict anything. It's like every day you go out there and you prove your level, you prove your point, and I think this week I did it really well, but nobody knows what's going to happen in the future. But the only one thing I'm sure is that I'll be there, I'll be fighting, I'll do my best to go as far as possible and do a little bit better than I did last year. And that's where is my focus. My focus is on my game, on developing myself and making sure that I'm strong and healthy heading to the AO.
The history between these two goes way deeper than just skipped handshakes. They faced each other 5 times in total. Sabalenka has won all 5. The head-to-head stands at 5-0. Not close, not competitive over multiple meetings. Sabalenka flat out owns this matchup, and that has to be frustrating for Kostyuk. Because let's be honest, you can't beat someone if you can't even steal one win over years of playing them. Now add the political layer, and everything gets messy. Kostyuk is Ukrainian, Sabalenka is Belarusian, and Belarus is allied with Russia in this conflict. Sabalenka has been very careful with her public comments about the war. She generally avoids direct political statements while expressing broad support for peace. She's been allowed to compete on tour as a neutral athlete without officially representing Belarus. That status lets her play while other Russian and Belarusian athletes have faced restrictions. Kostyuk's stance is that Sabalenka's silence equals complicity. In her view, by not speaking out against her government or its alliance with Russia, Sabalenka is indirectly supporting actions causing massive suffering in Ukraine. That belief is why Kostyuk refuses basic sportsmanship gestures like handshakes. She sees those moments as normalizing someone who won't take a moral stand. Sabalenka's counterposition, though she never says this out loud, is very different. She's an athlete trying to compete professionally in an impossible political situation. Speaking out against Belarus or Russia could put her family back home in danger. It could lead to her being banned from her own country. It could create real safety issues that go far beyond tennis. So she chooses public neutrality while competing as an individual, not a national representative. Depending on where you stand, both perspectives make sense. Kostyuk is standing up for her country and using her platform to spotlight an ongoing humanitarian crisis. That's admirable. Sabalenka is trying to keep sport separate from politics in a situation where that separation is genuinely risky. That's understandable too. But the handshake refusal causes problems beyond just these two players. It puts tournament organizers in uncomfortable positions during ceremonies. It creates awkward moments for fans who came to watch tennis, not geopolitics. It shifts media coverage away from performance and toward conflict, and it sets a precedent for how other players might handle similar situations going forward. The WTA hasn't taken a hard stance on this issue. They've allowed both players to handle it however they see fit. There's no official rule requiring handshakes, even though it's been a tradition for decades. Other players have refused handshakes before for personal reasons, unrelated to politics. The tour usually stays out of it unless things escalate into serious misconduct. Kostyuk's Brisbane speech was carefully calculated to maximize her platform while keeping plausible deniability. She didn't insult Sabalenka directly.
She didn't turn the ceremony into a personal attack. She focused on Ukraine, a country objectively facing tragedy and crisis. And let's be real, criticizing that without looking heartless is almost impossible. But the real message was in what she didn't do, the intentional refusal to acknowledge Sabalenka at all. Sabalenka, on the surface, handled it clean. She congratulated Kostyuk on having a strong week. She even said she hoped they'd meet again in another final. She cracked jokes about her boyfriend sitting in the crowd to lighten the atmosphere. She didn't bite. She didn't cause a scene. From a PR standpoint, listen, she played it perfectly. She came off like the bigger person, while Kostyuk looked like someone allowing politics to bleed into basic professionalism. But then there's the bicep kiss, and that moment complicates the whole storyline. That wasn't neutral. That wasn't diplomatic. That was Sabalenka responding to past comments and quietly asserting dominance. It suggested she's more aware and more bothered by Kostyuk's behavior than her public comments let on. The tension clearly goes both ways, even if only one player refuses the handshake. The crowd's reaction during Kostyuk's speech is worth breaking down too. They applauded loudly when she spoke about Ukraine. Supporting people suffering through war is an easy thing to rally behind. But you could feel the discomfort when she wrapped up without mentioning Sabalenka. People didn't quite know how to respond to that part. Some likely agreed with Kostyuk's stance. Others probably felt a trophy ceremony wasn't the place for that kind of omission. That mixed reaction showed just how complicated this situation really is. Now, from a pure tennis perspective, this match was never close. Sabalenka is operating on a completely different level right now. She's world number one for a reason. Her game is built on power and aggression that overwhelms opponents before they can find any rhythm. Kostyuk competed hard, but never seriously threatened to win. And honestly, the 6-4, 6-3 scoreline makes it look tighter than it felt watching live. Sabalenka's start to 2026 has been dominant. She's now 6-0 across all matches. She won Brisbane without dropping a single set. She's heading into the Australian Open as the favorite, and nothing this week suggested otherwise. Her level is insanely high for early January, when most players are still searching for form. Kostyuk, to be fair, had a strong week despite losing the final. She beat Jessica Pegula and other quality opponents to get there. Her ranking will improve because of it. She showed she belongs at this level, even if she's not quite in championship territory yet. But let's be real. The handshake drama and the speech are what people will remember, not the quality of tennis she played to reach the final. And that leads to the bigger question. Do these personal protests during professional sporting events actually achieve something meaningful? Kostyuk gets attention for her stance, articles get written about Ukraine and the ongoing crisis, and maybe, just maybe, some people who weren't paying attention before finally start to care. That's a positive impact, arguably, but it also sparks backlash. Some fans feel it's inappropriate to inject politics into sport. Even people sympathetic to Ukraine might think refusing handshakes crosses a line into bad sportsmanship.
And it puts Sabalenka in a nearly impossible spot. Damned if she speaks, damned if she stays silent. None of that helps Ukraine directly. It might even harden positions rather than change minds. Geopolitics isn't swayed by tennis handshakes. Belarus isn't going to rethink its alliance with Russia because Kostyuk won't shake Sabalenka's hand. The war continues no matter what happens at WTA trophy ceremonies. So the real question becomes, are these gestures meaningful protest
or just performative activism that stirs drama without substance? Kostyuk would argue that silence normalizes the situation and lets people forget the ongoing tragedy. By bringing it up repeatedly, she keeps the spotlight on the crisis. She's using the platform she has to do what she can. That's her responsibility as someone visible and Ukrainian. Critics, on the other hand, argue Sabalenka isn't accountable for her government's actions. She's just an athlete born in a country with terrible leadership. Targeting her personally through social snubs doesn't fix anything. It just creates awkward, hostile moments for everyone involved. Both perspectives have merit. Both are defensible. And that's why this situation is messy and keeps generating controversy whenever they meet. There's no tidy solution that satisfies everyone's moral stance while keeping professional standards intact. The WTA's reluctance to intervene makes sense, but it's also a problem. They don't want to enforce moral compromises or force interactions that players feel uneasy about. But staying hands-off allows situations that make the sport look petty and unprofessional to casual fans who don't know the context. Sabalenka's ability to keep winning despite the tension shows serious mental toughness. It would be easy to let hostility and judgment affect her game. Instead, she keeps dominating. She proves that whatever people think about her political stance or silence, her tennis speaks for itself, and that is significant. Kostyuk's choice to risk criticism and forego easy popularity for her principles is also notable. It would be simpler to shake hands, say nothing, and avoid controversy. She's choosing the harder route because she believes it matters. You might disagree with her method, but you can respect the conviction behind it. The awkward trophy ceremonies aren't going anywhere until something changes. Either Kostyuk starts shaking hands again, which seems unlikely, or they stop meeting in finals, which would require one of them to underperform, or the WTA enacts a policy mandating acknowledgement during ceremonies. None of those solutions looks imminent, so we'll probably see this play out again, maybe at the Australian Open if they meet there, maybe at other tournaments later this year. Each time will spark the same debates, the same uncomfortable moments, the same analysis of who's right and who's wrong. In a situation where both positions have moral validity, the Brisbane final will be remembered less for Sabalenka's tennis and more for the political theater around it. That's unfortunate, because she played incredibly well and deserves credit for it. But it's also inevitable, given the circumstances and the choices both players are making. Marta Kostyuk refused to shake Aryna Sabalenka's hand after losing the Brisbane final, then delivered a speech solely about Ukraine without mentioning her opponent once. The political protest continues, while Sabalenka keeps winning and saying she doesn't care. If you want to follow how this rivalry evolves, hit that like button and subscribe, because trust me, it's only getting messier from here.